The noises you hear, we are back on air, guys. Gentlemen, we are back on air. All right. Thank you so much for being a part of Good Morning Kenya this far. My name is Samuel Njoroge, and we never took a break as much as we told you that we are taking a break. The discussion has been very much alive in this studio in regard to the 11 tweets that were churned out by the Deputy President. And the question is he running a marathon, and is he sprinting to a point whereby he may not keep up with his breath ahead of 2022? Eric.
Thank you so much, Sam. This is a very tamaki question that we've been arguing here. Personally, I think what Honorable Ruto is doing what we call publicity, and forgetting his role as a Deputy President and starting what we call campaigns in terms of, running up and down in the rallies, Mikokoteni, Boda Boda. But a pertinent question that I want to ask is, if at a Deputy President level, you are the eyes of the country, you are the foreseen president of this country, you are going around giving out Boda Boda, you are going around giving out Mkokoteni. My question is simple. If you give out Boda Boda, what will governor give out?
And
what will MP give out?
You do realize,
what will MCA give up?
Eric,
yes.
You do realize wheelbarrows in this country are very expensive. We procured some at 100,000 Kenya shillings just some years back. Wheelbarrow siki to two of your. In a come through too mbaya. Advice.
But let me, we really have to debunk this narrative about wheelbarrows and Boda Bodas for the following reasons. Number one, we should not brand the Kenyan youth as people who basically only deal in wheelbarrows, Boda Boda, kazi kwa vijana. That is always the narrative when we want to talk about the youth. Every time we talk youth empowerment, we want to talk wheelbarrow. And the youth of this country have gone to school. The youth of this country need real-time opportunities for them to be able to grow.
On the same advice, I'm still on you. Can we use the same argument on Kazi Mtaani?
I even mentioned it, Sam, because I've told you, Kazi Mtaani, the wheelbarrows that William Ruto is giving, and all these things, they basically brand the youth in the wrong narrative. And as young people, we should not sit on this panel and champion such narratives. There's a day I was telling a friend of mine called Kariuki Ngunjiri, and he's one of the biggest supporters of the Deputy President, and that is okay, and he's democratic. But I told him that, a time will come when the Deputy President will become president of this country, and the role that he'll be given is to wash cars in State House. Because what we are branding the youth of this country is we are giving ourselves a very myopic view of things. And we should not therefore encourage a sitting Deputy President in this light, because what the Deputy President is supposed to do, and I have no problem with his donations, but you see, he can do those donations at a personal level, at his foundation level. But as a Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, we expect him to provide tangible solutions that work holistically for the country. But we expect him, Sam, Sam, you're not letting me finish.
Okay, you're taking too long.
Yeah, you're not letting me finish. Anytime you're talking about the Deputy President, Orogo is boiling up. And that's why I told you people to give Orogo water. Because he needs it. So we cannot be able to move a country through donations. Donations have never moved any country from third class to first class. The Deputy President is supposed to be working on things like for example, the youth empowerment programs.
Projects.
Not launching projects. First of all, he must create them before he launches them. Those are the things that we need.
That is not
we need industries, Sam. We need things that will provide real jobs for people in this country. But donations and wheelbarrows and whatever, those are PR stunts. Those are gimmicks that he can do, and that is for his own personal politics, which is okay to do.
But as a Deputy President,
this guy is taking too long.
But as a Deputy, Orogo is just Orogo doesn't have any tangible
fairness advice. You've just said what the Deputy President is supposed to do, right?
Exactly. In his capacity.
Where does that leave him in the context of Executive Order number 1 of 2019? Orogo, over to you.
No, when you ask me a question, let me answer. You can't ask me a question, then take it to Orogo.
Vis-a-vis what you've talking.
Yes. Just let Orogo answer.
Now, Sam, let's really not apply double standards when we are dealing with the Deputy President's issue. Now, one, you've realized that while he is declared that he is going for presidential, position, and all of a sudden everybody is trying to say, you know what, you're the deputy president, keep to the track of the government and do what the government want you to do as the second principle after, second principle after the president. But you realize that there's a covert mission that is taking place, that there's a launch of BBI and there's a campaign for 2022. So in other terms, one hand is telling him to shut up and concentrate in government duty that is curtailed by the executive order that you just mentioned. On the other side, other people are engaged into politics. There's pure double standards when we talk about the DP. Atwoli is busy making very stinging statements against the deputy president.
Atwoli is not an
He is not supposed to respond to that.
Why
Each and everybody is speaking about it. People are making phrases. Listen, my friend. People are making phrases about the deputy president, but we are expecting him to keep quiet and and to follow through. One thing that I keep on insisting, and I've mentioned, in his capacity, you shouldn't be even asking if this is the work of an MCA, if it's the work of a governor. The governor has been there. He's seen the gap, that the governor is not providing what he's supposed to provide.
There is no gap.
He's gone ahead. He's gone ahead to, listen, my friend. He's gone ahead to provide for what these guys are not providing. All of a sudden, everybody's up in arms. I think let's give the devil his due, and let's really promote the ideals of what we should be talking about. He is a politician. Everybody is playing politics. Why is his politics very different? And I've asked this panel, can you tell me one thing that you feel the deputy president is doing wrong? I haven't received that question. I haven't received the answer to that question until now.
You see, my brother Orogo, let me tell you something. First of all, as much as deputy president is doing all these donations, he needs to understand the country cannot run on donations. That is very clear. Now, as he
can benefit from donations.
You see now the way...
No. You are interrupting my argument. You see, the country cannot run on this donation. Second question is, let's say that the deputy president is elected in today, all right, as the president of this country. Will he be able single-handedly, pull out all the resources he has to finance the budget of Kenya? Will he? Because at the end of the day, he is as a person and he is as a politician. Now, the pertinent question here, my friend, is he needs to understand his role better before engaging in some of the things. Yes, there is politics. But as right now, let me ask, if I look at the deputy president, will I be looking at him as a deputy president or a future 2022 president?
Well, you cannot say that. You say that the country cannot be run on donations.
Yes.
But it can benefit
from donations.
Can it?
And is it helping
the
donations?
The percentage.
I mean, we are borrowing 1.7 million in a minute.
Yeah. You see, in one of my finance class, my lecturer told me that debt financing is one of the greatest risks you can ever take in investment. And when the country borrows too much, it means that the GDP of the country is going down, if I'm not wrong. Now, when the GDP of the country is going down, now that's where the role of executive, as you're saying, comes up. What does it need to do to salvage the case? So before we even start exchanging the issue of...
Empower people.
Now, let's come to real empowerment.
Community groups.
Now, let's come to real empowerment, my brothers. Real empowerment is, I am a graduate, a second-class upper finance graduate, right? You are bringing me a mkokoteni. That is wasting my knowledge. I've wasted over $500,000 in school.
I think Sam, you just mentioned that in his capacity as the Minister of Higher Education, I mean, he enrolled programs that, would make sure that, everybody, even at the TVET level, would really get quality for his education. He's not, at that point, he had realized that most of the people who are leaving tertiary institution, there's a mismatch in terms of skills. Was it Sinovet or Infotrack that ranked him one of the best performing MPs as Member of Parliament for Eldoret North?
Infotrack.
It was Infotrack, right?
Yes.
So, again, take it up.
My point is this, my friend. The deputy president, the role he has right now, is that he needs to ensure that they work correlatively with the president, irrespective of what. Because the oath of office bounce him to
And
that.
you know Eric is betraying continuity. Your camera is right here.
No, I was actually answering this guy. I was actually answering this guy. You know, he raised some concerned questions that I was addressing him.
Go ahead.
Okay, what I'm saying is that when we talk about youth empowerment, first of all, is try look at these youth and look at their potentials and see how well you can empower them. So before you come and bring me mkokoteni, ukiniletea mkokoteni leo na niuze kesho, have you empowered me? Yeah. If you bring me a mkokoteni today and I sell it tomorrow, have you empowered me? You have not. So basically what I'm saying is the deputy president need to stick to the core business of oath.
Okay. And whether or not what he's doing is working, I mean, we've discussed him for the past, 40 minutes now, so probably it is working. But gentlemen, I'd love to draw your attention now to yet another matter, this survey that was launched by Infotrack. It was announced yesterday about the best and worst performing parliamentarians that we have in 2020. Advice over to you. Did Milemba deserve the award he got yesterday as a Muhaya Member of Parliament?
I think as, first of all, I would wish to congratulate the members of parliament who were able to make it to the top list. But then whether they deserved it really is not a question I would be able to answer outrightly, because when we were told that they did a very good job, it didn't come along with what exactly they did. So we were given the numbers and the ranking, but we were not given the reasons behind the ranking. Which I think maybe it is something that maybe the media would want to follow up and then give Kenyans exactly what is it that made Omboko Milemba number one, what is it that made Didmas Baraza, my friend from Kimilili, on the list. So I think we need to then look at it holistically. But then we also need to understand, Sam, that when we talk about performance of someone as a member of parliament, it is not necessarily synonymous to how then that person would be able to provide to perform at executive level, because performance of a member of parliament is mostly political, yeah, and that's why you can be able to have people like my friend Didmas Baraza ranking very highly, but then if you just take that performance, then now transfer him and make him president, you might end up having a problem. So it is not necessarily synonymous. So when you take I'm using that point to take it back to what you talked about, the deputy president and being ranked by Infotrack.
I don't know.
Those two things are not
they are interlinked.
They are not interlinked.
Okay.
The performance of a member of parliament is highly political. It is the political performance of a member of parliament, which they are doing and which is okay. But then when you get to the position of president, what we expect from you and what we expect from an MP is totally different, because when you are the president, you are running the executive. You are running the country as a whole. Yeah. You are not just about building toilets and putting roofs on top of schools. They are two different things.
Yeah, I think I agree.
I agree.
Until he drew the deputy president into the discussion. Now, I agree with what advisors talked about. You know, when you read through the report by Infotrack, I think when you're studying a report or a research that is made, there are other things that provide a base for critique. You know, the methodology and really the sample and all these. I think for the first time, I haven't had Infotrack coming, you know, clearly about how do they do these, you know, these samples and all this. But that said and done, you know, the work of a member of parliament really constitutionally goes much of representation and maybe political activities in the National Assembly. But also other component of it that probably I think Infotrack was looking at, that is the you know, the prudent utilization of the national government, you know, Constituent Development Fund, and how that is expected of them to deliver with what they get. So I think there's also been a very huge debate about this fund. How is it equally distributed within the constituencies, and how vast a constituency is that a member of parliament can use, you know, the National Government Constituency Development Fund, you know, to drive the development agenda. All in all, I think we congratulate the members of parliament who have been mentioned. It's quite interesting that again, the Kibra member of parliament, with very, you know, short time within his power, he has been able again to be ranked, as one of the best in Nairobi, the constituencies in Nairobi. But we have to agree that, when they perform, we applaud. Now, the methodology is what we really need to begin to converse about. How
fact that you
was
talk
that?
about methodology.
Yes.
What is it about Emuhaya? You remember Wilbur Otichilo? He held that position for a very long time as Emuhaya Member of Parliament for being the best performing. Now we have Milemba taking over from him. As we question methodology, Emuhaya or Emhaya? What is happening? Let me hear from Eric first, advice. Then I'll come to you. What's happening here?
Well, when I look at methodology being used with Infotrack, it's the same as methodology being used with Sinovet and other research institutions in place. I think they're authentic. And first, let me congratulate all those MPs, more so my Westland MP, Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, personally, where I come from.
Na Wanyonyi umemention sana.
Yeah.
Kuna kitu tuambia.
Give credit where it
Which
deserves.
due,
Lakini sitaki watu waite hayo politics sanitizer. Go ahead.
So, I think the key thing is, allow me to speak about this. Most MPs, when you talk about their performance, maybe some may think that they're being based on the political party politics they're doing, in terms of I am ODM, this is Jubilee, this is Jubilee Asili, this is ANC and all that. So basically, depending on the methodology used, if they looked at the party, if they looked at the individual as a person, or if they looked at how well the National Constituency Development Fund has been used. So with Emuhaya, I can't really say much because he has tried his best, let me say so, and let me congratulate him too.
Okay.
Yes.
Advice.
I think we have always had two ways in which we have ranked members of parliament in this country. And sometimes some firms have used their legislation mandate. And when that is used, we have always seen other names, because we have those who have looked at their performance in terms of how many bills have they presented to the parliament, how many times do they even contribute to motions in parliament, which is their principal mandate. But when I look at the list that was given yesterday, I think that was not the criteria, because I don't see people like even the Emuhaya, a member of parliament, contributing much in parliament. I don't see Didmas contributing much in parliament. He contributes more in funerals. So I don't think what was used was about parliament. It was more about their work on the ground, which I know, like some of the ones that I can be able to know, like Didmas, like Tim. I can know for those ones they have been, like when you look at Dindi Nyoro, actually even when you look at his Facebook, you can be able to see there is a lot of work that he tries to do. And so I think that is what was used, the work that they have been able to do on the ground, which I think is what should actually be used. And you talked about why Emuhaya, and I wanted to give an answer to that there is something called precedence. And once this right precedence is set in leadership, there is always a way in which the person who comes after will just follow through into the footsteps. And that's why you've seen Kibra. You've seen the member of parliament who was there, and the one who has now come in. You see that there is a semblance of more or less the same thing, because something was set up in the right trajectory. Once something is set up in the right trajectory, it is not so easy for you to just deviate away, because it really calls for you to be very abnormal to then run away from what is normal. And so I think that is the reason why we see these constituencies topping the gear. So we should not really try to make it look like it's a way in which they have paid or it's a corrupt scheme. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think they're just constituencies that are doing well.
Another thing is...
Eric, don't betray continuity here.
Another thing that I can add on what my brother is saying is that I think right now the nation has woken up, and they have put these leaders under watch, under monitoring. So it makes the leaders now deliver than earlier before, the way they used to, dishing out handouts and forgetting about the development agenda. Yes.
Yeah, Until we forgot about Gatanga. You remember Gatanga was,
Yeah, Peter Kenneth.
was performing, and then the predecessor, I think the person who took over, we never heard about Gatanga. I think we should really ask what happened to that,
Gatanga, right?
To wonderful constituency. But again, I wish that when we go to elections, always, that these citizens remember, this ranking.
Yeah.
The voters remember the performance of their members of parliament or those who are vying for those positions based on the agenda of the performance. We really forget, voters really forget that, these are the most critical ingredients when one is considered, as a candidate or somebody who is aspiring for that positions. There's also the wave that also comes and people forget. The development vis-a-vis the kind of money somebody is dishing out. So my advice is I really beseech
your advice to advise.
Not really the electorates to always consider these important ranking or these important ingredients when we really want to elect our leaders into position.
Plus, some remember, actually, truthfully speaking, CDF is doing a lot of work in this country. CDF is really doing a lot of work, and therefore that's why sometimes I don't like the aspect of just vilifying members of parliament sometimes and calling all of them garbage and saying they can't read newspapers. Trust me, CDF has done a lot of work in this country, and we must be able to appreciate that.
So, Honorable Joseph Ngugi Ndwati, you're the current member of parliament for Gatanga, so we'll be probing and see how the ranking has been. But I have a question here for the panelist. It's coming forth from a gentleman known as Wayaki Gango, and he's asking, now, for the panelists arguing that Kenya cannot be run on donations, what better alternative has been offered to us, Kenyan youth? Advice.
Unfortunately, not a lot has been offered to the Kenyan youth, but something has been offered to the Kenyan youth. And unfortunately, even us as the young people, we've really sometimes not really taken what we are given to the best interest, and that is why we even disappoint those who try to provide opportunity to us. Because we have seen some of the Kenyans have elected some of the young parliamentarians, and it's good that some of them are able to even rank on such lists. We've seen the government of President Kenyatta giving opportunity to some of the young people like the CAs and the Ministry of Education. We have Zach Kinuthia there. We have several names of young people that have cropped up within this time. Now, the question now is the impact that they have
they
had.
Being felt though?
Now that is now what I'm talking about, Sam. That the problem is, once they were given those positions, what then became of the impact? Because now the impact looks like it is more or less not there. Now we have the National Youth Council in this country, a state-run organization. Now what is the impact on the ground? And unfortunately, when more young people continue being put in office and the impact is not felt on the ground, that is the more we continue to... The voter and the country generally starts thinking then maybe young people are not ready for leadership. When we start having instances like the young parliamentarians, we hear a young parliamentarian, the one who shot someone in Westlands. We hear a young parliamentarian is the one who was found disobeying COVID rules, and he was found drunk.
In
you
fact,
see, these things...
Jaguar and Babu, were fighting in parliament.
Fighting in parliament. Now, those are some of the problems that then we have. But in terms of the Jubilee government making a try to provide some opportunities to young people, I think they have not done it to the extent that we would have wished, but they have done something. But now the problem now is whether the young people, given the opportunities, have then been able to ensure that the ground is able to feel them and know that they deserve what they were given. Now that is where we have.
There's a very glaring difference between giving young people positions and allowing them to have latitude and progress in the position and taking authority of the position that they're having. So those are two different things. And I agree with that advice that we've seen a number of young people who have gone for leadership positions.
Yes.
But the question is, the terrain, the system itself cannot really allow them, to implement what they really want to implement. Now, the person who asked the question, I think he's asking two things now. If you're vilifying the deputy president. What options do you have? I think that is the simplest thing. The caller has just asked, and it's the same thing I've asked them. If you're seeing wrong things, then what are the alternatives?
Then let's provide
what are the alternatives that are
Eric,
there? Because
maybe
it's providing
Eric
those
has an
funds.
alternative. Let's hear from him. Eric.
I, being a youth, I can say that we have alternatives that the Jubilee government has tried, though, as my friend said, not to the maximum. But also, it comes back to we as youths. Are we taking up the advantage? Are we taking up the available resources to work with? Because in this time that we are right now, we are facing a lot of problems, more so with the pandemic. We as you see, Sam, there is no way I'll just sit in the house and wait for for these donations, even if I'm to do donation to come to my house. All right. So also, I'm also telling you to stand up also.
And youth is relative in this country.
And take advantage of the case.
No, we're just saying youth is relative in this country.
Yes, youth is relative, but what I'm
18 to 35 has nothing on us.
What I'm saying, Sam, is we cannot run on donation, but at the same time, youth
We
need
can
to stand
benefit
up.
from it.
But we can benefit from it.
We
To a smaller percentage, yes, we can, but also youth need to stand up and take their part as a youth.
And we need to give those alternatives some.
Gentlemen, we need to wind up because it's the top of the hour. And we need to pave way for family check that is coming up next. I'm just trying to wrap this newspaper because sasa naona kazi yake imeisha. Inaweza funga nyama officially. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching Eye on Politics. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Advice. And thank you, Orogo, for coming through for the show. We invite you to keep the interaction going on online as much as it could be done on air at KBC Channel 1 is the platform to use. My name is Samuel Njoroge. The show is taking a breather. Jane Wambo is coming up next. Good morning.